Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 28th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Milburn, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alan. Next, we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Gentry.
Present.
Jane Taylor.
Present.
Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Present.
And Alan Milburn.
Present.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Any changes or adjustments to the minutes from our previous meeting? Okay, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our minutes are approved. Now on to department head reports. First up is Police Department, Chief Wormuth.
Good evening, everyone. During the period between 1/14 and today's date of 1/28, the Lebanon Police Department responded to 568 calls for service, and a total of 23 people were arrested for the following crimes: 10 for wanted on a warrant, 3 for domestic battery, 4 for possession of marijuana, 2 for possession of methamphetamine, 1 for possession of a syringe, 1 neglect of a dependent, 1 for operating the vehicle while intoxicated, and 1 person for operator never licensed. We issued a total of 2 handgun carry licenses in our office. This past week, firearms instructor Jason Morgan and myself attended the annual SHOT Show in Las Vegas from the 22nd through the 24th. The SHOT Show is our nation's largest exposition of the newest firearms, police equipment, and training trends, as well as an opportunity to meet with industry leaders and provide feedback. It was a worthwhile trip. We're actually looking at a shooting simulator, which is very reasonably costed, around $6,800, which will use our own projector and our own computer equipment. We'll basically be out buying the software and some equipment. This will be very good for shoot, no-shoot training. And we also looked at a wide variety of breaching material that we can put in officers. Where officers are responding to quite a few medical runs where EMS has called for help getting into homes. So this will help us get into the homes to render aid. Our current hiring process will be closing at the end of this week. Anyone interested in seeking employment needs to contact the Lebanon Police Department immediately. We're just closing up one process. We had 2 survive the process, and now we've started a second process. We advertised on Facebook that went nationwide, and we're getting quite a few applicants coming from out of state, but again, will they show up for the testing will be another question. This is a trend that's being suffered by all law enforcement agencies across the United States. We can't find people to take this job, and it's a very good paying job, and it's wonderful benefits. So we're hoping we get some interest from the local community that would be interested in this job.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief from the board?
No.
Is 568 a little higher than normal?
I'm sorry?
Is 568 on calls a little higher than normal?
568 I thought was actually a little bit lower.
Was it lower? Okay. It just struck me as more, but maybe not.
No, it's actually lower because usually we're in the 700s.
Okay.
So it actually was lower.
Okay. I knew it was different at least. So. Any other questions?
No.
Any questions from the public? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next up is Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Works meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 148 emergency calls for service, logged 161 training hours, performed 9 commercial inspections, installed 4 car seats, and participated in 1 public education event. On Saturday, January 26, myself, along with Deputy Chief Robert Wiry and firefighter Jason Adams, completed our adult continuing education for our Instructor 1 recertification. The class was hosted by Brownsburg Fire. Lebanon Fire has partnered with Boone County Solid Waste Management for the Reuse the Heart and Soul campaign. We will be accepting new and used shoes from February 1st through the 19th. Shoes in reusable condition will be redistributed to those in need by the Changing Footprints program. Shoes can be dropped off at both Station 11 and Station 12 and the Center Township Fire Department headquarters. The Boone County Sheriff's Office has unveiled its Bloodhound program. You can pick up a free Out of Harm's Way scent kit at Station 11 and Station 12. The scent kits can be used for any adult or child that may have a tendency to leave the home unannounced. You can pick those up at any time at both stations as well as Center Township Fire. Boone County will be under a wind chill warning from 10 p.m. on Tuesday through 1 p.m. on Thursday. Wind chills could be 30 to 40 degrees below zero. Please use extra care if your daily activities force you to be outside. We urge the public to also use caution in using auxiliary heating sources. And if you're experiencing an environmental difficulty, you can contact the Lebanon Fire Department at 482-8827, and we can assist you in getting help.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Batts? No. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next up is Parks Department, John Messenger.
Good evening. Lebanon Youth Soccer Association is currently holding signups and will be until March 1st. You can visit their website at whatever. Look at the soccer. You can call the Parks Department. I tell you, I have 20/20 vision, if you can believe it. My arms. LebanonYouthSoccer.com. How about that? There you go. And anyway, sign-ups are currently taking place till March 1st. Trying to get that spring atmosphere in here. Our Daddy-Daughter Dance will be held April 13th this year. Tickets won't go on sale until March 1st, so hold off, and we aren't going to jump the gun there. We're hoping for a great turnout. This year's theme is Beauty and the Beast, and it's going to be great. We have a couple locals that are going to help us out with the costumes, and it's going to be awesome. We are currently demolishing the Conservation Club. The demo work's wrapping up. I want to thank John Lastly Outdoor Solution for their donation of demolishing that building. He's in the audience tonight. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. It's a big undertaking, and he's saving the city quite a bit of money, and it's a donation. I want to thank him again for that. The splash pad construction is moving along, and the water fixtures should be delivered tomorrow. They're, again, weather depending. We got bad weather coming in. Real excited about that. Got all our state requirements fulfilled and stamped, and we're good to go on that. Groundwork should start, weather permitting, soon too. So hopefully next week we can break some ground and really start moving forward on that. Looking forward to the 8th grade middle school students. Didn't get to speak because there was a 2-hour delay. And looking forward to that. Look forward to that every year. They have a learning project, and we've done that for several years and really appreciate the bright-eyed kids, and they have a lot of great ideas which we try to instill in our park programs. We're also taking applications now for a 2019 summer season. We have lifeguard, concession stand, and seasonal maintenance positions available. Anybody interested that is 15 years and older, please apply at a parks office. We would appreciate that. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board? No. Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Engineering Department, Kevin Krulik.
Thank you, board members. Good evening. Report for the 28th. Few project updates. East Street final as-built have now been completed. Final retainage release is expected to be processed this week. And that will put a bow on our East Street project. Northern Interchange feasibility study, specifically the Northern Interchange project, the construction project. We are currently seeking grant and funding applications that will help provide the funding for that project. There's two potential U.S. Department of Transportation grants that we are currently pursuing. One is the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America program, or INFRA. That grant application cycle is currently open and closes in early March for funds available 2023. So we're going to look to make a submittal there. And then a little bit later in the spring, the BUILD grant program, which stands for Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development. I think I tell you every time that I can't remember what that stands for, so I made sure I could. I wrote that down this time. But anyway, we'll be submitting our build grant application. The application process, we're expecting to open up sometime in April. It doesn't close out till July, and again, those are for 2024 funds. So both of those projects, both those grant programs, excuse me, we're going to submit on and hopefully get the funding we need, along with some help from the state to fund the new northern interchange. Downtown, things are starting to slow down, as you might notice here, but they won't stay quiet for long. We completed all of our concrete flat work last week. The traffic control cabinet, the large silver cabinet at the corner of the Key Bank building, has now been moved around the corner and is now replaced with a new black cabinet to match all the other street furnishings. And final pedestrian signals and controls are currently being installed on all that new concrete that has been placed. And hopefully those are just sort of the last few button-up items that we have to do around the first 3 phases of the square of that project. Work expected before we meet again. You know, it's tough to say exactly what we'll do in the next 2-3 weeks. It's all weather dependent, but we are trying to wrap up those last minute items, especially those things that are not weather dependent, like the electrical and traffic signal work. But we are working on with the contractor for a plan to temporarily put the pavers in place there at the corner of the Key Bank building. If you're walking through that area, watch your step. There are some trip hazards because there's some recessed concrete that will receive pavers. But the contractor is trying to mobilize their team to go ahead and install those on sand. We'll have to pull them up in the spring so that we can lay them on their permanent bed of asphalt. But the asphalt is just not available this time of year. Let's see, what else? We've got the traffic signal timing. That is ready to go, but we're waiting on NDOT to show up to do that. They have to do the final programming of all the traffic signals. The courthouse memorial monuments, we are planning to pour those foundations for those this week, and then those monuments will be reset, most likely in warmer temperatures. And then Phase 4, which is the last section of the original contract, Main Street between State Road 39 and West Street. Contractor would like to start utility work next week on that. So no rest for the weary here. We're going to move right into utility work. That'd be water and storm sewer work. We will not close the street down immediately. The water main really goes along the sidewalk on the north side of the street. So we're committed to keeping those businesses open, keeping the road open, keeping the Huntington Bank drive-through open at all times while we're working on those utilities. And once those utilities are in, probably sometime around the 1st of March, we'll look to close the street and fully demolish the street and get ready for that reconstruction. So a lot coming there, and we'll keep you abreast of those things as they change and are adjusted for the weather forecasts. Again, remind you of the work that we've still got to do this spring. We've got the milling and resurfacing on 39. We've got storm sewer work up in the intersection with Washington Street. And then we still have the signal and intersection upgrades at State Road 32 and Meridian. All those things will also happen this spring as we get to warmer weather. Continue to thank the Heart of Lebanon for all they're doing to promote downtown, and look for their daily updates as we continue to work through the project. Phase 2 of the project, the West Main Street project, we held our pre-construction meeting last Friday. So we're ready to go there. I expect construction to start sometime in March, although we don't have a definitive schedule. That is weather dependent, of course. But we look for, as they complete the utility work on Phase 4 of the first contract, they will roll from that utility work right into the West Main Street project and continue constructing the water mains west. Again, remind everyone there will be no street closures on West Main Street west of West Street until after April 1st. And the contract does require business access and resident access, for that matter, to be kept open at all times. But the road will be eventually closed after April 1st to through traffic. Other things, we're looking at our pavement resurfacing plan for 2019. So we've closed out all of our contracts from 2018, and we're looking at doing some updates to our pavement asset management plan. We're also looking at a grant application for community crossings that is due on Friday. And we've got a host of streets that we are planning to submit for that. All in all, about 5.5 miles of resurfacing projects that we'll look to do this year. We'll be back in front of you for actually some bid authorization, but the way the community crossing program works this year, we're not able to bid those prior to that grant award, so that's why there's the delay. But we are looking at Lakeshore Drive, some areas of South Meridian Street, Shorewood Drive, East Street on the south side, Caraway Street, Campbell Street, Hoy Avenue, Stoltz Street, Powell, Witt, Elizaville, Grant Street, Westmore, and Elm Street this year. Some areas that we will be paving, kind of spread all over the city this year. Most of our focus last year was on the south side, and so now we're going back and hitting some areas all around the city for this year. Just in case anyone's curious, over the last 4 years, over the last 3 years, and if you count the 5.5 miles we intend to do this year, we are looking at a total road resurfacing program over the last 4 years of 30 miles, just over 30 miles. Moving on to other things, Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2. The utility relocation programs continue. Basically, we're down to Lebanon Utilities electric and water relocations that have to be done. Those have all been given the notice to proceed and expect those to be completed by early summer. Other schedules on the project, the letting, as NDOT refers to it, of our bid opening, as you might be more familiar, happened week before last on the 16th. Happy to report that the apparent low bidder was Reith Riley Construction, and they bid a price just over $2.3 million. That is under the engineer's estimate of $2.5 million. And we are waiting on some contract approvals and notices from the state of Indiana. Once we receive those, we will have to fully commit our 20% matching funds to that, which, if you're doing the math, that's about $464,000, $465,000, and that's what we will pay for that $2.3 million project. Again, earliest date construction can start is May 6th, and there'll be a 45-day initial closure of Indianapolis Avenue between Spencer, or State Road 32, and Noble Street before we move south, and we do that one in alternating phases, keeping the road open to traffic going north. Southbound traffic will be detoured. The Grant Street project, again, we're still waiting Attorney General's office approval of our NDOT contract. As soon as we get that, we'll be ready to start design phases of that project. Remind everyone that's a 2022 and 2023 funding source. So that's when construction will be expected to start. We are also currently working with Boone County. Boone County has plans to do a bridge redecking of the William Street Bridge there just at the northeast corner of Central Elementary. They are planning to do that project in 2021. So we are working with them to see if we couldn't combine projects so we don't have to close William Street in consecutive years. We're meeting later this week to figure out how we can possibly combine our projects, perhaps bid them together, perhaps bid them concurrently, seeing what we can do so that we can minimize the impact to the residents and the school district, and work with our friends at the county to make that happen. A couple other projects. Riley Ridge is nearing completion, and they're getting ready to start home construction. I expect that we will be before you in February with their secondary plats and their bonds for your acceptance and approval. And last but certainly not least, State Road 39 bridge inspection. We did our last bridge inspection. We finished that up on the 23rd. Happy to report no deficiencies were found. And we are currently on a 6-month inspection cycle. This was the last inspection that was under our current contract from last year. And we are going to be recommending that NDOT allow us to go to yearly inspections. So if we are successful with that, we would look to probably do an inspection in the summer months. A little easier on the inspection crews to do that in July as opposed to January. And then hopefully we'll be on a 1-year cycle for that inspection program going forward. That's all I have. Any questions I might ask?
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions?
Yeah, Kevin, I have a question. Back on the two federal grants
Yes.
applications are being made for the interchange.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of money are we talking about in terms of those applications?
Sure. Well, the total project is nearing $60 million.
Right.
And both funding sources, I don't recall off the top of my head the federal award on those. I want to say the infra program has approximately $250 million allocated to it, and that's a nationwide program. And then the build grant program has about $1.5 billion allocated to it. And both of those can accommodate projects as small as, I believe their thresholds are minimum projects of $25 million up to $150 million. So both of those grant programs are right in sort of the sweet spot for this type of a project.
And those are 80/20s as well?
One is, I believe the infra program, I'm going from memory here, I believe it's a 60/40 project, but you're allowed to apply other federal funds to it as well. So the thought would be is that it's not one or the other of those grant programs, but we would actually like to get both of those grant programs. So the infra program, I believe, maxes out at 80/20, so it starts at 60/40. You can use additional federal funds to get that to 80/20. And then we have commitments from the state for local funds, state of Indiana funds that would pay the 20%. So we're really looking, if things work out with the relinquishment fees that we would collect from taking over 39, there'd be almost no money out of pocket for the construction of that project.
Answer your question, Alan?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Kevin from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Planning Department, Ben Bontrager.
Good evening, board members. Planning Department is solidly into the winter season right now. We're definitely seeing a little bit of a slowdown, but we do still continue to do a number of projects. We did 19 more building inspections over the last couple of weeks, so Gary does remain busy. And we did issue another 18 permits, one of which was the D.S. Smith permit out in the business park, and our next great manufacturer out in the business park. They got their foundation permits. We're going to start to see activity on that project out there. So a lot of activity going on out there. From code enforcement side, obviously with it cold, we're not doing a whole lot of grass and weeds, but we still do a number of other things that we do throughout the winter time. So our code enforcement team continues to remain active and proactively addressing a number of things. Big project though that we're working on, the comprehensive plan. I did want to highlight that we have our big open house coming up here in a couple of weeks, and this is probably the most important one for the general public to be able to participate in, because this is where we'll be presenting all the recommendations on goals and objectives, and then also highlighting the key initiatives that were throughout the plan. And so this is the opportunity for the public to be able to hear those and then also respond and provide comment to those. It's really important that everybody comes and wants to be able to provide input on what they want to see happen in their community over the next 10 years. So this is kind of a critical time for everybody to be able to review that information. That open house is coming up on Tuesday, February 12, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., and it'll be taking place at the Lebanon High School in the study room. And we do, you can check out the additional information about that on the Planning Department's Facebook page. And then we'll also be sending out a number of other locations as well. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next is Street and Stormwater Department, Dave Newell.
Hello. We've been pretty busy since last meeting. We had Robert Biddle and his staff from Raycom Incorporated come to the street department. We've been having a lot of radio issues, so we had them test our equipment, give us some updates on that. It's obviously not repairable, but we'll address that here later. We're gonna have to replace some of them. But we did also complete some in-house training. We did a class on a friendly workplace. Sounds silly, but it works, you know. We spend a lot of time together, so we try to keep that going. We've been driving our roads, as Kevin mentioned, to confirm the Pazer rate, so we could get that list that he read to you for the roads that we're going to pave or try to pave and do with the ADAs. If we get it granted for 2019, we're trying to. Along with this, we've been counting ADA ramps that will be a part of the street paving bid, so me and Derek got a better handle on that last year, so what he wanted and what was compliant, and he helped me learn that, so we're starting to do that together as a team. We have repaired 2 catch basins since our last report. It's kind of hit and miss this time of year with that, but when we can, we try to repair them if we emergencies and they need it. But as of January 28th, we have used 220 tons of our 600 tons of material we are allowed for the winter so far. We have spent $19,745.74 of our $60,000 salt budget for 2019. That was as of today. Tonight, I think we got 200 more ton coming, so getting a little bare, but it is what it is. The crew has worked a total of 40 hours overtime as of 1/12/19 to today, plowing snow. So we've been pretty busy, and usually it's broke up, but it seems like January's hitting us pretty hard. And the street department would like to thank all of our residents who have been saying thank you to the crew by coming into the street department. And we've had people calling the department, and all the people who have given us a thumbs up or a friendly smile when we pass them in plow trucks. We had somebody stop us at 1 o'clock in the morning the other day on a trailer court and say thanks. He was out shoveling their driveway, so it's not all bad. It's just rough, you know. It's a battle, and I understand when they get frustrated when we get a lot of snow. And also, raised trash could have a delay, they told us. It depends on if it gets that cold. They're going to delay their trash pickup, so we'll try to post it on our Facebook page. Maybe I can get a hold of Joe, and if they do delay it, he can put it on the city website too as well, or their Facebook page. But they French said they'd let us know, Doug French. And we'd also, at the street department, like to wish Mrs. Newsom, Seth's mom, a speedy recovery so she can get home again. So that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Dave, and I would echo the sentiments of the public that thank you guys for all the hard work and long hours you guys have been putting in. You know,
3 weekends in a row, I think I've had them out. So.
Exactly. So it's kind of been bad timing, but I really appreciate all the hard work. So.
No, I mean, and that's what we posted. I mean, they drop. People don't realize, but you know, I called the guys the other night, and they're having dinner with their families, and we just have to drop and go. I mean, they leave their families, and we come out and do what needs done and go back.
Well, we really appreciate it. Any questions for Dave from the board?
No.
Any questions from the public? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, communications and community development, Joe LePage.
My apologies, and good evening. I have some news that is right off the press from earlier today. We wrapped up and approved artwork on new city banners. There'll be 119 banners total. They'll be downtown and around this municipal building. We solicited 3 different proposals from Mount Signs, from Indie Sign Works, and from Indie's Pro Graphics. And so we asked them to come up with a concept and also get us a price for banner and installation, all those things for the 119 banners. Indie Pro Graphics came in at $18,306, and that is installed banners for all 119. Signworks for installation and banners, $16,545, and then Mount Signs, no installation included, was $64,055. And so going back and looking at the installation.
Hold on, I think you said that wrong. How much was Mount's again?
$6,455. What did I say?
You said 64,000.
Yeah. Well, those are gold-plated banners. So went back and looked at the installation cost and ended up subtracting $6,000 because it's what Signworks was charging for installation, and still John with Mount Signs was by far the cheapest, even with the gold plating. And so we're going with John and going obviously local, and so we have some great photos from various events taken by local photographers, professionally done, and so he's incorporating those. I showed some to Dave and Craig back there, and I think they're going to be really, really nice and eye-catching. They're going to really reflect the This Is Home theme, which is, if you remember, the same group that helped us with the Lebanon logo, Borshoff, also came up with that phrase, because whether you are visiting, whether you live here, or whether you work here, Lebanon is a great place to call home. And so This Is Home is kind of what we're incorporating those signs with. And so as soon as the weather is nice, we'll start putting those signs up. Again, that is around downtown. That'll also include the new portions that Kevin talked about on West Main Street all the way to the arc, as far as when they have the banners the availability for the posts and the banners up. And so I'm really excited about that. And so that'll be something that will be rolling out here in the not too distant future. Something we rolled out today, and we're using the hashtag new in 19. There's some things that through community development we are rolling out to help promote quality of life. And if you noticed, it wasn't snowing today, it was raining today. And so we went ahead and rolled out our new Rainy Day Monday campaign. And so we have some, I'm not going to open it up because it's, of course, bad luck. And I've already messed up once during my report here. But we have some umbrellas that have the Lebanon logo on them. And so what we're asking folks to do, we do that on social media today, is asking folks that are still out and about in our community, even though it is a rainy day, even though it is Monday, it's still a great reason to be loving Lebanon, loving our community. And so we asked them to take pictures as they were out braving the rainy conditions and send those to us. And so we would take the first 15, and we got more than 15, so we're going to have that cut off. And then we're going to randomly select someone to get the umbrella and say thanks for being out and about and going about your business on a rainy day and a Monday. Karen Carpenter lying there with the rainy days and Mondays don't have to get you down. We're in Lebanon, and we're okay with that. Something else new in 19, this is a bit further down the line. We're still working out some kinks, but we'll be starting 11 Lebanon podcast. And so you hear some of the department heads come up and they talk about, for example, calls for service and things like that. The podcast will be utilized to get a little bit deeper, to know what's going on kind of behind the curtain within respective departments. Great programming that's happening at the parks, that type of thing. We'll go a little bit more deeper into that. And then we want to also take it next level. And so coming up, next weekend is Savor Lebanon, and so we may have an organizer on, this is in the future, to talk about that event and maybe get someone from Back to the 50s to talk about the Back to the 50s event. So again, promoting that quality of life within our community. And so we'll take those podcasts and put them on our website so some visitors can see all the great things that are going on within the community and really kind of get a behind-the-scenes look about some things that are going on. And so so that's the Lebanon podcast, and I'll give you more updates as we start to record them. We like to get 4 or 5 just to have in the kitty, as they say, in the can, so we can utilize those throughout our community. And speaking of Savor Lebanon, that's coming up next Saturday, February 9th, from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. That's at the 4-H Fairgrounds, and you can go to savorlebanon.com to learn more. And that event and many others will be on our website in the community calendar and on our newsletter as well, which will be released on February 1st. If you have an event that you'd like to have promoted free of charge, info@lebanon.in.gov is a place to send that info. Little information would be great. Also, a picture always helps. But that's free of charge, something we like to do.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Lots of great stuff going on. Any questions for Joe about his report?
No.
Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes department head reports. So I'll move on to old business. And the first item I have here is the proposed City of Lebanon employee handbook changes. These relate to, we brought this up briefly at our last meeting. This really stems from a goal to try to help the clerk's office. We wanted to kind of streamline how we assign time off for our employees. Currently, we have 3 different categories on how we do time off. We have actually 4, I guess you could include holidays. But we have sick days, we have personal days, and then we have vacation time. So the proposal tonight really just streamlines all of that and makes it a paid time off versus having those 3 different categories. And essentially, the amount of days are given for vacation days don't change for employees. However, instead of currently all employees are given 5 personal days and 5 sick days, and then they have the ability to earn 6 personal days. They earn a half personal day for every month they go without using a sick day, and then allows them to then bank up to 20 sick days. The policy would change where we would just give them straight 15 personal days, so they don't have to worry about earning the days with sick days. We want people to use sick days if they're sick or if their children are sick. That creates a better workplace environment and limits the spread of disease. So right now, in our current policy, it actually by using sick day, it actually costs you a day and a half, right? Because you actually lose the half personal day you could earn as well too. So that was something we wanted to streamline there. Essentially, it's a pretty apples to apples comparison based on what happens. There is one change though as well. We also increased the amount of days that we can bank. Increased the days from 20 days that they bank to 30 days. And all PTO days are eligible to be banked versus only sick days could be banked before. So that's kind of the gist of the paid time off changes there. And we had a meeting today with some city employees, made sure they were clear on it, and they answered all their questions, and they were very supportive and appreciated the changes. And then also as part of this, we wanted to, last year, the governor implemented a policy for the state where he implemented a paid parental leave policy for the state of Indiana, and I thought it was appropriate that we match that policy. So also as part of this, we are introducing 4 weeks of paid leave for new parents, and that would apply to anyone where there's the birth of an employee's child, the birth of a child to the employee's spouse, or the placement of a child for adoption with the parents. So just really mirroring what the state policy is from the paid family leave amendment as well too. So any questions from the board concerning those changes? And then we also have some changes from the fire department and the police department, just reflecting those changes, and we can address, those are just changing their standard operating guidelines as well too. So any discussion or comment concerning the proposed changes to the paid time off policy from the public or from department heads or anybody? Any questions?
So we're just approving the ones here for the handbook?
Yeah, so the thought is to vote on the paternal leave and then parental leave, and then the paid time off as well as for that, and then approve the police and fire. And I can have them come up and explain that if they need to, but I wanted to explain the civil employees first. So is the board comfortable with everything with that? Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the employee handbook changes concerning parental and the paid time off amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is approved. Thank you, board. And then, chiefs, do you guys just want to come up and explain? I have Chief Batts is up first, so if you want to go first. Or Chief Warmth, you can go. Your head.
Good evening again. The changes that we are looking at, this is under our rules and regulations, personnel policy. The first one is in 1-8, and it just talks about our vacation schedule, and we changed the date threshold for vacation scheduling due to seniority. And that's December 1st through December 26th to schedule your first 6 vacation days. And then on down to 1.9, it discusses floating Kelly days. So essentially, we have the same amount of time as we did before. We're just calling it something different and putting a policy behind it. We couldn't go to PTO time due to banking that time and allowing firefighters and police officers to take that at their discretion because of our minimum staffing requirements. So we implemented on the fire side floating Kelly days. Floating Kelly days are assigned days that you must take during your 28-day cycles. And there are several advantages to that. It helps keep us under the 212-hour threshold during a 28-day cycle to manage our overtime budget. So we're not getting into overtime as often by mandating them the firefighters taking the 1 floating Kelly day per 28-day cycle. So you can see the information in 1.9. It talks about that as well as instituting a bid policy based on seniority to use their floating Kelly days. And then in 1.9A discusses how we would prorate the floating Kelly days for a probationary firefighter that comes in, let's say, mid-year.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Batts concerning his SOG update? a little different schedule. It's the one off, or one on, two off. It's a little different schedule for fire, so. Okay. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the rules and regulations update for the Lebanon Fire Department.
Go ahead.
I make a motion, we approve the rules and regulations update for the fire department.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Batts. And Chief Wormuth now.
We're kind of in the same boat that the fire department is. Our people do not work a 5 on, 2 off. They work a 6-day on, 3-day off schedule. Our policy basically still keeps the personal time that you can take and your vacation time separate from the sick time. Due to our minimum staffing, we have to keep 4 on the road at all times. We have to differentiate. If they're sick, we have to make do. If they're just simply requesting a personal time off and this minimal staffing doesn't allow it, we can deny it. We cannot deny the sick time. So if you look at 16.1 subsection C on page 6, basically we're giving our people 21 personal days. Previously they had 16 personal days since they do not get holidays off, and then they earned a half a personal day for every month they didn't call in sick. The new policy kind of falls in line with the cities that they no longer have to earn that time and they're not going to be penalized for taking sick. In the past, if you took a sick day, not only did you lose that sick day, but you also lost a half a personal day. Again, we don't want people coming to work if they're sick and unfortunately spreading to the rest of the shift. So our only change is that we're giving them 21 days instead of the 16. They no longer have to earn it. And then we also, if you look on page 7, we took this opportunity to prorate the personal days. We hire people throughout the years. When they hire on, this will give us an actual schedule of how many PTOs or PDs, if you wish, that they'll have, depending on what month they hire on. And our policy also has written in the paternity, parental leave, to just keep in line with the department, or with the city handbook. We have had several officers asking if that parental leave will be retroactive. My children are 28 and 23. I still love to take time to spend with them, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can do that.
Okay.
It's within a
6 months?
yeah, 6 months of the event. So if they have a child that's less than 6 months, they could, because it is effective January 1. We are making this retroactive, by the way, too. So, yep.
Which we have an officer expecting, so he's very happy for this.
Yep. Okay. Any questions for Chief? Okay. This time, I would entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the Lebanon Police Standard Operating Guidelines.
I'll make a motion, we approve the amendments to the Standard Operating Guidelines 16.
Okay. We have motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is approved.
Thank you very
Chief.
much.
Thank you, Chiefs, and thank you, Board. I really think that's going to be something that our employees are going to welcome. Hopefully, it streamlines things for the clerk's office and also provides a new benefit for our employees and make sure we're competitive in a very tight labor market as well, too, right now. So thank you for that. All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Anything from the Board for old business? No. Okay, now move on to new business. First item up is bid opening for Memorial Park Restroom and Storage Facility. And Kevin and John are going to work on this one.
Opener, there you go, big guy.
John, do you want to just, while Rob's working on this, you want to just say what this is? These are for again?
Yes, these are we had a bid meeting turned in today at 4 o'clock. The bids, this is the bid opening. Sealed bids were to be turned in for the maintenance reconstruction barns and then also a new restroom at Memorial Park. And we had a pre-bid meeting, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and then they were supposed to turn in sealed bids by 4 o'clock at the clerk's treasurer's office today. And Rob is about ready to let us know what the bids are, and there you go.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Board. The first one is from Monroe Construction Group, LLC, and it's a lump sum amount of $400 and I believe $93,595. Yes, $493,595.
Who was it? What was the name? Monroe?
Yeah, Monroe Construction Group.
Monroe?
Monroe. M-O-N-R-O-E. Construction.
Monroe.
Okay.
Second one is from Wilhelm.
Wilhelm?
Yep. And this is a lump sum of $960,000.
960.
I think just like typical, we'll review these to make sure they're compliant.
Take them under advisement,
Yep.
and yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
That second one was 960?
Yes.
Rob, was the first one 493,595?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Big these
bids are now open. We'll review those for appropriateness and take those under advisement. Next, move on to surplus vehicle request from the Parks Department. John?
Well, you see me all night. Okay, I have a surplus of 3 different mowing equipment, 2 72-inch and a stand-on that I would like to surplus. And I think I did forward that to you.
Yep. Yeah, we have the paperwork.
We have the forms, and I want to thank you for filling out the forms. It makes it much easier for the board to review
Oh, I
what you're
love
trying
it.
to surplus.
I love the process, I really do.
Okay. And everybody in the board has a copy. Anybody have any questions?
John, these will be traded in, right, for new mowers?
Yes, these will be traded in for new ones. We try and switch them out. We started that project about 7 years ago, and now we keep fresh mowers in there because they put a lot of hours on during the summer. So the stand-on's a couple years old, along with the mowers are 3 years old or so. So I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, at this time, we'll entertain a motion to surplus the 3 mowers.
I make a motion, we surplus the 3 mowers for the Parks Department.
We have a motion to surplus. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that surplus is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. And finally, I have a authorization to seek bids for materials for asphalt, sand and gravel, oil and grease, and concrete. This is Kevin.
Thank you. I'll be brief on this. This is just an authorization that we're seeking to allow us to publish and seek bids for material quantities. So again, these are our material supply bids, annual supply bids that we do every year for asphalt, oil and grease, stone and sand, and concrete materials. Some of that will be materials in place, provided in place. Others will be just provided as bulk materials for the street department to use. So all we're asking for tonight is just permission to go out and publish and seek bids for those materials.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Kevin? Okay. This time we'll entertain a motion to authorize him to seek bids for the materials.
I'll make a motion, we authorize to seek bids for materials.
Okay. We have a motion to authorize. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, you have the authorization.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and any other new business coming before the board tonight? Okay, then I'll move on to claims. Any questions or comments about the claims?
Make a motion, we pay claims.
We have a motion to pay the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims are approved, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. The city council meeting will begin at 7:15.
Okay.